Hi, I'm Andre with a spoilers review for You Better Reviews. This is my spoilers review for Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. If you do not want to get spoiled, if you're one of the few people that haven't seen this movie yet, I have a non-spoilers review as well, but this one's gonna have all the spoilers in it, so don't watch if you don't want to get spoiled. This movie does not start with the iconic Star Wars title opening crawl. It starts off with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and just when you think you're gonna get that Star Wars logo, and it's gonna slowly zoom out, and then you're gonna get the diagonal text going up and the music, nope, this movie literally starts with a and then we're right into the movie. And the movie starts with a young Jyn Erso. She lives with her parents and her dad is a scientist. The Empire finally finds him. They've been looking for him because he is the scientist, the key ingredient to finishing up the Death Star. He's the one that is able to put this thing together, and the Empire wants it so they can use it to make the world a better place, bring order to the universe, make the universe great again. Krennic, who's played by Ben Mendelsohn, he's like, you gotta come with us. Erso's wife comes out, like, you're not taking them. She's holding a blaster at them. I'm like, well, you're dead. Tell you, man, the stormtroopers from back in the day apparently got some good aim because she came out ready to shoot. Stormtrooper just was like, all right, I got this. Pew! Jyn Erso runs away and finds this hiding place that her father told her about, and that's when Saw Gerrera, played by Forest Whitaker, finds her, takes her out. We get the title screen, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, and we're thinking we're gonna get to see the growth of Jyn Erso with Saw Gerrera. Nope, it just immediately cuts to her as an adult in prison. And then we basically get a bunch of small scenes that pretty much introduce a lot of the major characters. And it's not until a little bit further into the movie that they actually start to all connect somehow. One of the scenes though that really got me was when we first get introduced to Cassian Andor. He meets up with this guy who has the secret message from Jyn's father about the Death Star, but then they get recognized by stormtroopers and have to run away. So Cassian has to climb up to get away from the stormtroopers. The other guy that's with him that gave him the information was like, I can't climb, my legs are broken. And so Cassian's like, oh, it's okay, brings him close, and then just shoots and kills him so that he can get away. Them special editions may have said that Han didn't shoot first, but there is no question that Cassian shot first in this scene. And I like that, man. It just shows that this character is not 100% pure. It's just a guy that has a mission, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to get the mission done, even if that means killing dead weight. With the help of his robot companion, K2SO, which is an Imperial robot reprogrammed to now work for the Rebellion. They work together to free Jyn Erso and bring her back to the Rebellion because they know that her father is the key person to talk to. He's the one that sent a message out letting them know about the Death Star, and particularly letting them know about the flaw. So we've all known and made the jokes about in the original Star Wars how there's this one little part of the Death Star that if you shot it perfectly, it made the whole thing explode. Jyn's father was the one that put that in there and then sent out a message to the Rebellion to let them know that that part of the Death Star exists. The only thing he was not able to give them was the actual location of it, which is why they have to sneak into the Empire to get the Death Star plans so they can see where exactly that point is so they know where to attack. Just go with it. They, of course, meet all these different characters, like Donnie Yen's character, Chimette Iwe. I'm trying to remember their names, but it's hard to say some of these names. Chimette Iwe, M Night, Imwe. And the whole time, his character is praying, and he always goes, I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me. And I just was like, all right, there's that phrase. There's that catchphrase that everyone's gonna be saying now. Damarmu, I've come to bargain. You're done. It's time for I'm one with the Force is with me. Baze Malzbus, who's his second in command. And there's like no backstory on those guys. They're like on the street. They're assassins and they're like, oh, you guys are doing some fights? We'll come along, which is good because they're amazing characters, but they just kind of like join. One of my favorite parts though is that, so Donnie Yen's character, Chimette, he's blind. Saw Gerrera's people capture them all. They put these bags over their heads so they don't know where they're going. And when they put the bag over Donnie Yen's character's head, he's like, are you kidding me? I'm blind! We now get an older Saw Gerrera who now has hair and who breathes through a little mouthpiece. And he always now talks like this. Save the rebellion. Save the dream. They also get help by Bodhi Rook, who's played by Riz Ahmed. He is a pilot that used to be a pilot for the Empire, but decided, I don't want to be a part of this no more. He pulled a full fin and was like, I'm out of here. But he gets caught by Saw Gerrera. Bodhi is one of those characters that I was talking about in my non-spoiler review about, I wish I had an extra scene before the first scene I see of him just to get some backstory. Like, why did he leave? Why did he escape? Why did he deflect? I mean, we got the obvious answers, but it would have been interesting to see where that all came about. We instead get this whole scene where he gets caught by Saw Gerrera. He tells him, hey, I'm trying to deflect. I want to help you guys out. Saw's like, I don't believe you. And then there's this whole scene where they have Bodhi attached to a chair and this CGI tentacle creature comes out that's supposed to touch him, and that's supposed to make him tell the truth. And if he doesn't tell the truth, it's supposed to hurt him in some kind of way. And it also doesn't go anywhere. Saw Gerrera goes through this whole thing about, oh, if you lie, this thing will hurt you. And then the next scene, we see Bodhi back in prison. So it was like a completely wasted scene. It feels like this was a scene that probably had more to it that got cut, but somehow this one little piece stuck in there. It was weird. I didn't like it. It wasn't necessary. There's more time that could have been spent on backstory of characters than like, look at this CGI tentacle creature we got. Plus, that was one of the main things I didn't like about Force Awakens, was those little rolling tentacle creatures. No more tentacles in Star Wars, all right? I don't know what kind of kicky things some of your CGI animators are into. No more tentacles in Star Wars. But anyway, Cassian Andor brings Jyn back to the rebellion. They're like, hey, look, your father gave us this information. We need to go in there and see what's going on, and you gotta help us. And if you help us out, we will clear you of all your charges. And this, again, is one of the issues I have. Like, I know I'm gonna sound like I'm very negative to this film because it gets better along the way. But the problem that I have with some of this movie is there's a lot of exposition without much action. Like, we get this whole scene of, oh, Jyn Erso, you're a bad person. Look at this long list of things that you've done. But the thing is, we never see her do any of these things in the movie. The first scene we see of her as an adult is her already locked up. It would have been interesting to see her do like one of these things, or the thing that got her caught to get locked up, rather than just saying, oh, you're a bad person. Take our word for it. And the same thing happens when Jyn Erso eventually goes and meets Saw Gerrera on his planet. They had this whole banter of like, you trained me, but you abandoned me when I was 16 and this, that, and the other. And then Saw Gerrera's like, I don't trust the rebellion because you see this robot leg I got. And I'm just like, you guys are telling me a bunch of cool stories that I wish I could see right now. But instead I'm just hearing you tell me these stories. This feels like a you had to be there type of moment. First half of the film, the structure is a little off, but when it gets to the action, when it gets to all the war stuff, that's when it is perfect and fun and exciting and engaging and dark and crazy. It kind of is reminiscent of real war. There's literally a scene where all these fights are taking place. People come out as basically suicide bombers when stormtroopers are walking around, then everyone starts shooting each other. And there's this one part where this little girl is like standing in the middle of it all crying. But that doesn't matter because the Death Star is built. Now it's gonna blow up this city. Yes, the Death Star is not fully 100% operational yet, but it's at least in its beta phase. It's in its testing phase. So instead they blow up like little small areas, and one of the first places they blow up is where Forrest Whitaker lives. So yes, you get Forrest Whitaker for like 2 scenes and then he's dead. And he does that classic death too, like when the Death Star hits his area and you see all the rocks and land coming up and being destroyed and coming towards him. He just does that whole thing where he just walks out and he's just like, bring it. In Star Wars, when they blew up Alderaan, it was like, you may fire when ready. And it was like, you saw this planet from a distance being destroyed. But in this movie, when they destroy something with the Death Star, you see it happening. You see everything going on with the land. And you see all these people looking like, ah, shoot. Did we leave the light on? Did we leave the stove on? Do we have any bills we need to pay? Because we about to die right now. And plus they got these new stormtroopers. It's like death troopers, which are these black stormtroopers. And they got these shore troopers, which are like camouflage. And you got the AT-ATs. I think they're given different names, but they're basically AT-ATs. And I love when Baze Malbus, he tries to shoot at one and it hits him and he goes, Woo! And you think it's done and it just goes, it literally was like a, oh no, he didn't. You also get some space dog fights as well. There's this big force shield that's keeping people from getting into the Empire's secret base. So you gotta figure out a way to take that apart so that way the rebels can come in and attack. And so there's this whole thing of them fighting in space, and then you see them flying, and you just get so much cool stuff in this. You get flying things, you get things on the ground, you get stormtroopers, you get AT-ATs. It is just a full out war. Yes, when this movie is a war film, it's really great. Then when it becomes more of a Star Wars film, it works out okay, except there's a couple of fan service things in here. You're just like, oh, okay, here we go. You just couldn't resist, could you? We get prequel cameos. Like, no one wants that. No one asked for that. I mean, I get it. It's connected to the prequels and it's connected to the original trilogy, but did we really need Jimmy Smits to remind us that that happened? I get it. He's supposed to be there and he calls Obi-Wan and he knows about Leia, but still, seeing him there just reminds you that the prequels existed. We even get cameos from the 2 guys from the bar. Remember in A New Hope when Luke goes to the bar and the guy's like, he doesn't like you. I don't like you either. Those 2 guys, and then Obi-Wan comes over and slices the arm off one of them. You see those 2 guys in here randomly. For no reason. They just literally bump into our main characters and are like, hey, watch where you're going, and they walk away. Okay. And you're probably thinking, oh man, Rogue One, the first Star Wars movie that's not gonna have C-3PO and R2-D2 in it. Are you kidding me? It's a very, very super short scene, and it kind of makes sense that they're there just because we know that in Star Wars, they're a major part. So the cameo makes sense, but for anyone that was thinking they weren't gonna show up, Disney got toys to sell, y'all. But then there's some characters that I didn't think was gonna show up. Do you remember Tarkin from Star Wars? And you're thinking, well, how is he gonna show up? Because that guy's dead, and also the movie was made in 1977. Well, computers said he's back. They make a CGI Tarkin, because you see the back of his head and he turns around and it is like spitting image. Looks just like him. The way they did it was they got an actor to play the body type, and then they just CGI'd the face to make it look like the original character. And it works out great. Really cool reveal. Tarkin then plays a major character throughout the rest of the movie, and over time, you start to recognize more and more how CGI it is. He just has that weird uncanny valley thing where he's talking to somebody and them eyes are just like, what are you looking at? What exactly is you looking at, man? I think having him in a scene, or I think having that reveal was really awesome, but it just started to take me out the film just a little bit the third or fourth time I saw him in it. However, on the other side, at the very, very end of this movie, we get Princess Leia, and that was amazing because it's super short. The CGI face for Leia was dead on, and they even use archive footage of her voice to do the voice in the movie, so it's an authentic Leia. Like, this is what scares me. This is too good. Like, I'm worried that Disney can now create people. Only a matter of time before they lock us all up and replace us with these CGI people, and then we're done. Humanity is over. Disney, Skynet, Apple's fingerprints, they're all working together to get us all, man. This is how to get you. I'm on to you, man. I'm putting a freaking tinfoil hat on my head, and I'm getting in a bunker with a bunch of Porkymans, because you ain't taking my body and turn into a CGI creature, Disney. I'm on to you. And knowing them, they probably made me a CGI person with tentacles. But of course, my man Darth Vader is in this movie, and he's only in it for 2 scenes. It's interesting to see Vader in this movie because they actually make him look as authentic to the original Vader from the original Star Wars as much as possible. They don't try to modernize him. They don't try to class him up or make him all slick or anything. They're gonna keep it the way it looks. So that way, if you watch this movie and then watch A New Hope, it looks like the same Vader from start to finish. That was very good attention to detail by not being super detailed. The first time he shows up, he's talking to Krennic, and Krennic's all like, oh, we got this Death Star, I'm all excited, give me more power, blah, 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 blah. But then Krennic steps out of line talking to Vader, and Vader just gives him that choke, which would have been awesome, except they had Vader turn around while he's choking him and go, don't choke on your aspirations. Did Darth Vader just seriously do a pun right now? Don't choke on your aspirations. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. For so much dark and scary and mature in this movie, you do this to Vader? Are you serious right now? So I was almost done. I was like, you know what? I just need to accept the fact that I will never get a scary Vader. And in this movie, at the very end, does a scene with Vader, one of my favorite Star Wars scenes of all time. There's this group of people that are from the rebellion, they're trying to get out, and all you hear is and they turn around and it's just darkness, and you just hear and the first thing you see is that red lightsaber light up, and as soon as I saw that saber light up, I was like, oh shoot. And sure enough, man, Vader goes ham. He's slicing one dude while he forces one guy up to the ceiling, brings him down, slices a couple people at one time. He just annihilates all these people, and this one door won't open, and this guy's like, open the door, open the door, and he turns around, go, da, da. Vader, I'm telling you, man, this one scene is freaking amazing. And what's crazy about it is we get pretty much the end of the movie, so I thought we were done. And then they threw this scene in there, I was like, holy moly, this is the Vader. This is the Vader I've been talking about. I've been wanting for so long, man. I loved it. I want more of that. If I can get a Vader movie or something with Vader as a main villain where he's like that the entire time, yes. But even everything before that, the whole third act of this movie is just absolutely amazing. The war elements of it, the espionage, the sneaking into to get the plans, all of that is just so well choreographed, it's so well done. You get these heroic deaths. These characters, you don't know a lot about them, so you kind of feel like you're not 100% connected to them, but when they have these deaths at the end, you kind of feel really bad for them. Hold up, I gotta mention this. I'm sorry. There's this one brother in a movie, he was just an extra, he was just a side character. But man, they did him wrong. They had these guys trapped and they had to go touch that button. And this one brother was like, I'll get it. And this dude doesn't even step 1 foot out of his hiding space before a laser just goes pew and knocks him out. I'm sorry. One of them stormtroopers was waiting for that dude to come out. One brother in their group steps outside and just gets zapped immediately. That one black dude, somebody had a target on him. They're like, oh yeah, Donnie Yen, you keep walking across, but as soon as that brother come out, I'm getting him. There he is. Pew! I know pretty much everyone dies in this movie, but that's just a terrible way to go. At least let the Death Star take him out. Why you gotta kill him before everybody get killed like that? I got it! Pew! That's wrong! K2SO, the droid, has an amazing death. But he goes out. He's like, I'm gonna save my friends if that means having to sacrifice myself. And it's really sad. And you're just thinking, this is a droid. This is not even a person. And I'm about to cry right now. And everyone gets their moment to die. And yes, everyone dies. Bodhi Rook helps out, then a bomb comes in, takes him out. Baze Malbus just goes out, blaze of glory, just freaking shooting while they're shooting at him. And he just like, he does like a Queen Latifah and set it off. And just when I thought Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor were gonna get away, that Death Star shows up and goes, nope. The Empire basically blows up their whole station because they're like, well, it got infiltrated and there's a bunch of rebels down there, so you know what, let's just blow the whole thing up. Death Star, pew! And the last scene you see of Jyn and Cassian is them sitting on a beach saying, well, we did our job. Death Star plans are out there. No one ever knows of us before this movie, so this is our time to die. Yeah, it pretty much is. You wanna hold hands? Yeah, let's hold hands. We're dying now. They give each other a hug, and then shoot. Bravo, man. I was worried they're gonna figure out some way of getting Jyn off of that planet so that she would be fine, but nope. They're just like, you know what? We never hear these characters ever again in the Star Wars world, so they gotta die today. And there's other Easter eggs supposedly to other Star Wars movies or even from Rebels that are supposedly sprinkled in there, but you know, that's the main stuff I want to talk about. It's just really enjoyable. For all the flaws that this movie has with some of the storytelling, the action sequences and the cinematography and the way they perform this war element of Star Wars is so well done. And the performances of the characters are also very well done, which is why I wish that we had a little bit more backstory on some of the characters, because I actually did like the characters. It wasn't a situation where I was like, well, I don't care about these people. I really did care about them, and when they all went out, I even cared about them more. This is a really good movie. I think that it's another one of these movies where people are either completely overpraising it or completely being hypercritical of it. It is not the best Star Wars movie of all time, in my opinion. And it's definitely not terrible by any means, but I think it's gonna be different for a lot of people because Star Wars comes a different way for different people depending on how they grew into this franchise or what brought them to this franchise, including Force Awakens, bringing people to Star Wars for the first time. So I feel like depending on what your fandom is to Star Wars, this either is gonna work for you extremely well or it's not gonna really mean that much to you. And that's understandable. As a movie, I enjoyed it. I hope that this doesn't become a trend though. I don't want to see too many movies where let's make up a prequel to end right where the original movie begins, because if you do that wrong, then you almost kind of taint the original movie. Could you imagine if this was a bad movie and then it had to literally be the movie that started before A New Hope? So you gotta be careful with these types of films. Let me know what you thought of Rogue One in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up. And if you're new here, please subscribe. And also ring that bell so you can be notified of future videos I make. I love you like a play cousin. I'm Audi 5000 Chain Chomp Yelp.